With some, inshallah, Brother Yusuf is going to continue a very interesting topic. In fact, I call this topic, actually, to be honest with you, defending the Islam. Actually, not only that, supposed to defend the Islam. Especially, alhamdulillah, is number one, our country is a free country. If I speak about the Islam in Egypt, in Palestine, in Morocco, in any Muslim country speak freely like what we speak right now, killed or in prison for life. I have experience, by the way. So my point, inshallah, is an honor to our brother Yusuf again, alhamdulillah. Brother Yusuf.
Yeah, I think in this introduction there, I would have probably had my about 30 times every week if I was not here in the United States, because and we're going to talk about that going on, about saying the truth to tyrants and defending basically our deen in the face of tyranny. I would like to welcome everyone back. Assalamu alaikum. Glad you guys are here again. And last week I heard the feedback went really well. We were talking about the ladies and defending the women. And of course, when you talk about the women, you're obviously going to talk about the other half, which is the men. So last week and this week are basically interchangeable. We are going to build off of what we built on last week, but we're going to focus more on what is happening to the men. We painted a pretty grim picture of what the propaganda was and what is being targeted to our sisters, and what we could do as men, as husbands, as fathers to combat that. There was a funny thing I forgot. We ran out of time last week. We were talking about some of the lies that our opponents use to try to justify some of the edicts or the rulings that they try to impose. And I had one that I was going to get to, that we looked at the clock and it was already like 9:50. And in France, they had said when you had these burkinis, the burkini was a halal way for sisters to enjoy the water, to enjoy the ocean by wearing a full cover, covering the body and everything like that. And they banned these. And the reason that they gave for that was they said it was unhygienic, which was, this is the same country that literally has nude beaches, more common than they have regular beaches. And they said that this burkini was unhygienic, and that was the justification that they had used for banning it. I say to them, if there's anyone who lives in that country who's hearing my voice now, come up with something a little bit better. Try to be a little bit more believable that you are concerned and you're just trying to degrade women and get them to remove their clothing, basically, lack of a better term. And that was something I wanted to mention that went along with what we were talking about last week with the hijab and how they always tell you it's for you. We're trying to help you. We're making you remove the hijab to make you fit in, to make you better. It's always something like that. I said, when it comes from these people, it's coming from the wrong place, 100%. All right. So that's a little bit of opening there to get to the topic at hand, which is the war on men. We live now in another unprecedented time in human history where being a man is increasingly under attack. So today, what I set out to do, as I always do, I want to define what is a man based on the sunnah of our Prophet ﷺ. What is a man? What should a man be? What attributes should a man exhibit, in his life? How should he carry himself? How should he go? We talked a little bit about that last week. We are going to continue to build on that. Then I want to show what our opponents are marketing to our young boys, telling them a man is supposed to be. We are going to look at social media influencers, Hollywood actors, the rest of the circus, of the modern day, what they're telling our young boys are the attributes of a man. And we are going to match them. And we are going to see if they are the same. And obviously, you're going to know the answer. A little bit of a spoiler alert. The answer, it doesn't match. And we are going to look at that. We're going to look at what's happening to our young men. Why we're having some very alarming statistics that I'm going to cover, today in terms of suicide, drug dependency, dropping out of high school, and just checking out overall out of the system. We are going to be looking into that, as well. And men and women, you can't talk about one, as I mentioned in the opening, without talking about the other. If one falls, we both fall. And our enemies know that. Last week was about how they attacked the women. Now they're attacking us, as well. So young boys, from the time now they are growing up and going into schools, they are indoctrinated constantly to hate their masculinity, to hate the qualities that God gave them that make men great. You see an unprecedented amount. We're going to talk about those people in a couple of weeks. The alphabet people, I like to call them. You have massive amounts of men now so uncomfortable in their skin that they are going around and saying, I'm nothing. I'm non-binary is the term they like to use. I'm not either gender. I'm not a man. I'm not a woman. You see men going around saying they're a lady. And if he's got a beard like me, you have to accept it. In the state of California, that's a lady. Regardless if any of the other, descriptions match. And that's really the amount of insanity that we are dealing with. There was a man that walked into a women's bathroom in the state of California, and he said, I'm a woman. He had a beard almost as long as mine.
Was his Lord by son, the statement.
Yeah. And you're supposed to say, okay, ma'am, come on in. I mean, is that really to the point we've gotten there, But you see so many men abandoning their duties as men. And we're going to talk about how the society is structured and why that is. Nothing is by accident. Everything is by intent. Everything is designed. There's nothing that the elite that run this world said, oh, we didn't expect that to happen. Everything that's happening now, they've sat at a table in a room somewhere in one of their expensive locations, Bilderberg groups, you have different names for them, and they've talked about these things long, long ago. And now we are seeing the fruition of that. So, what is a modern notion of masculinity? Well, part of this is to take this energy that men have and guide it into the wrong place. If you watch anything in entertainment, who is glorified in our modern society? I ask you, you're a young brother, 19 years old, right here in the front row. What type of male traits do you usually see as considered to be favorable in this modern world that are being pushed by the mainstream media?
Just blind acceptance of certain things. Emotional. Yeah, be emotional. Well, I mean, it's healthy to an extent, but
we'll talk about that.
Prioritize that over
see anything when you have macho-ness being promoted by the media? What are the type of qualities that you see them showing a macho man, a manly man is supposed to be?
Oh, a degenerate.
Degenerate, very good. Temperamental, unable to control his temper, quick to anger, quick to fight. Vanity, walking around with gold chains. We see this.
Bling, bling.
Yeah, bling, bling. We see it in the rap culture. I mean, you ask the average American teenager now, who Abu Bakr is. Are they going to know who that is? I mean, the Muslim teenager may not even, he's some guy that might have known the prophet or something. They would have no idea. But you ask them who the latest rapper is, they will probably be able to tell you where he was from, how long he's been doing it, how much money he has, what car he drives, and the same thing with the entertainment industry. An actor or an actress, they will be able to tell you every single thing about a Brad Pitt, about a Michael P. Jordan, any of these guys. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention that there's a big red pill movement in this country and in Western society in general. Red pill meaning what's known as the truth, and it's more inclined toward material possession being righteous man, which as Muslims, is the ultimate truth, not having a Bugatti or being your own boss or doing this.
And yes, we will get into red pill here in a minute because red pill has been taken over from the inside and they are steering the people who are naturally seeing a problem with what's going on in the world. They're steering them to the wrong.
That's the direction of media, direct people the way they want, according to other people well. By telling you what to do, what direction to go, by controlling to show your enticement, to show your direction, by not even the parents they know to their own kids, to open their eyes and teeth.
So you see an example, again, going back to a rapper or an entertainer. I mean, you are seeing the lowest of the low when you look at these people. There was one rapper I heard about the other day. I never even heard of who this individual was, and I will not give him the grace of me mentioning his name today. But he had 10 kids with 8 women. And none of them obviously are his wives. We can make that assumption. He was never married to any of them. And this is what the young boys are shown. This is a man. So either you are those feminine guys we talked about in the opening, or you're this guy. This guy's here. He is a man. This is what a man should do. He's wealthy. He's got 10 women and multiple.
That's the new example they want people to have. That's your example in this new planet.
should learn and follow the new direction, the new lifestyle that he has had.
And you see it with, again, Hollywood and all forms of entertainment. It's not just rap, it's with athletics. You see the gentlemen they choose to put on a pedestal, they choose to market, are usually the people who have the most questionable personal lives. Again, most of them are not married or family. Now, is this vanity, of showing off and boasting? I mean, the very concept of rap music is boasting. It is about bragging. It is about showing how much better you are than someone. Are these prophetic manners? Are these sunnah? Absolutely not. We are going to take a look at a quote from Sahih Muslim, a hadith. Allah is gentle and loves gentleness. He gives for the gentle what he does not give misread my own quote. He gives for gentleness what he does not give for harshness. So what he's saying here is God is obviously ever loving.
حديث الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم حديث صحيح مسلم الله لطيف يحب اللطف.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so what we are seeing here, two parts. Loving, basically an attribute of himself, mercy, greatness, kindness.
Allah Rahim, Allah Rahim, farhamhu.
But not liking people who are harsh to others, believing you are better than other people, believing that you put down other people. There's a very good hadith relating to this about looking over the flaws in your brother. If I wanted to sit in front of a mirror and read out all my flaws, I'd be there quite a long period of time. So why am I going to pick this brother here and attack him for the same things I'm most likely doing myself? That is an example, again, of bad character. Gentleness, kindness, respect.
كنت غليظا فظا
كنت فظا غليظا
لانفضوا من حولك.
So we are encouraged right here, as we can see, from this, to be kind, to not be harsh. And being kind and gentle is a full way of behavior. It's from the way you speak, the way you greet someone. A real man is not someone who's going to go around with his chest out, flaunting his wealth, just so he can put himself above another human being. And we talked about that quality in my first lecture that we did here. The Sunnahfollowers were not there for that one. When I talked about the Hajj, and one of the brilliant aspects of the Hajj is the nakedness in front of God, wearing the ihram, not going there with all of this vanity and all these garments and all these things of show, being almost stripped naked in front of your Creator as He created you in your natural form. No rich, no poor, all people, together. He is deprived of gentleness, to continue, is deprived of good. So again, right here, assigning an attribute of gentleness to goodness as a quality of a man. Not what we are seeing, again, presented by our enemies, in the mainstream media. You see now, as he mentioned earlier, there is you could say, a rebellion, if you will, against these depictions of men, against this anti-male culture that we're talking about. It's called red pill. And if you have a teenager, there's a very good chance they are following someone or they have heard of this red pill. It's basically about being awake. You understand what's going on in the world. You understand the agendas. And as always, those videos are live. Our opponents understand this. So what our opponents are doing is they are sending people to these teens who are now saying they're converting to Islam. And, of course, they know that we as Muslims, we do not judge intent. If someone says, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, we believe them. But if we start to see certain patterns in that person's behavior that are not changing, the same things that they were doing before are going on, you've got someone here who is not authentic. And we are seeing this with our social media personalities. Several of them in these days have come out and they've taken shahadas. They let everybody in the world know that they did it. And you find them marketing the same disgusting things they were marketing before. Now, these are not small, thick issues that you've got to be like this gentleman to really study to know. We're talking about basic front page Islamic stuff like lesbianism and homosexuality and these other things. And they are openly marketing these things. Prostitution, pornography. Again, you don't have to be a Muslim for more than 2 hours to know those things are haram. And you're seeing them guiding these boys in. A lot of their followers are coming from the Muslim world, and they trust these people, and they are selling them materialism. They are selling them that false manhood that I talked about in the opening, and they are selling them a lot of degenerate, behaviors, and we really have to be on the lookout for these people. Yes, sir.
What they call that is entering the virus through human body. They enter the virus, society to the Islam, without people make any differences to let them know. This guy is Muslim. That's the example. That's the new thing.
I just want to give a quick example. Andrew Tate, the gentleman who's kind of spearheading this whole red pill movement, was recently on a podcast talking about being Muslim while he was smoking a cigar.
Yes.
And from what I understand, smoking is haram.
Well, yes. And I had nicotine addiction. I've wrestled with nicotine addiction all my life. I never would do this in front of people or in front of, in a situation. I've always tried until I got it under control and I was able to quit it. But the gentleman he mentioned is very big among the youth. This guy was investigated by a Pakistani sister in Europe. He came to Islam, and as we always do, we accept everyone. There's a famous hadith from a battle going on with a prophet, and there was a pagan was down on the ground with his hands up. He said, La ilaha illallah, and he was struck dead. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, why did you do this? Yes. And he said, I didn't believe him. And he said, how do you know what's in his heart? They know we cannot judge.
Did you open your heart? Did you see what they were?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That we cannot judge. If a brother comes to us and takes the shahada, I want to believe him. We all are commanded to believe.
Yes.
Who are we to say inside? But again, when you see what he mentioned, this gentleman here is openly still engaged in criminal activity. He is still running a pornography business, webcam business after taking his shahada. That is not a mistake. A mistake is stubbing your toe on the couch when you're going to get the keys in the middle of the night to go out to your car. That's an accident. It's a mistake. When you are still profiting and collecting checks off a pornographic video business, you cannot come here and say that we are supposed to take you seriously as a Muslim. But the youth are, and what he's doing, this is the genius of it, for them, not for us, obviously, is he's getting young men to say, okay, well, Andrew Tate accepted it. A lot of these young people, I've met them, they look at this gentleman as he's as close to God as you can be in this world. And if Andrew Tate is doing it, so it's got to be okay.
Potentially he's a virus entering different world.
So preparing our, sisters here and our brothers for their children, who are undoubtedly their kids are going to know who this guy is. And there's many worse, than him, who have also come out and pretended to be Muslim. One of them, he goes by the name of Sneeko. You find him in social media. He's getting over, millions of followers. He did a video while he was debating about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with two women sitting in the back kissing. And I don't like to say this in front of the children, but this is just something we really want people to be on the lookout for. How can you, in your heart, if you really believe in this deen, be debating the merits of a deen when you've got a grotesque sin taking place behind you? And he said he made a mistake when he was questioned about such behavior. So again, if we as men in the homes are not masculine role models, if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not a masculine role model, who are they going to follow? Because our opponents will certainly give them a role model. And they're getting better with the tricks in terms of pretending, pretending you're Muslim and coming in and winning that trust. I want to give another hadith here onto the merits of a man from Abu Hurairah. The messenger said, the nobility of a man is in his religion. His manhood is in his intellect, and his honor is in his character. I mean, this is the embodiment of what we are talking about today, going again and comparing what an Andrew Tate, who is boastful, standoffish, belittles people, puts them down, flaunts his wealth, to when you see this statement coming from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, talking about the first point, nobility in his religion. He walks around with pride. He is a follower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That he is a believer in Rasulullah as the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That nobility that comes from your religion, that you are seen as a gentleman by all the people who deal with you. That is the main thing he mentioned there. And he talked about the manhood was in the intellect. It was not in. Now we've got a lot of people who are countering our young people. They want to, get bulk and lift weights. Nothing wrong with exercise. Nothing wrong with that. But Rasulullah said here, this is the number one sign of manhood, the intellect. What was the first words ever revealed to our messenger? Iqra. 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 Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read. And, again, intellect.
Iqra, not Siri, not Google.
We want to talk a talk coming up, I guess, maybe in a couple of weeks. You had a gentleman coming in next week. And then, okay. And
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said something for our example, very, very clear. إِنَّكَ عَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. And سئلت Sayyidina Aisha بعد وفاة Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They ask her, people ask the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, Aisha, and they ask her what ماذا كان خلقه؟
خلق القرآن.
كان خلق القرآن. The holy book, Quran, working. So the Prophet, the example, was known only was in Quran, and we follow the Quran and the Sunnah. Nothing else.
Continue. Oh, there's a thing. In a couple of weeks, I think we and him will do a very good one on Sheikh Google and fatwa shopping. Because when I just became Muslim, maybe for 1 to 2 years, I got introduced to fatwa shopping, and I have a lot of funny stories on that one. And me being young at the time, I was like, this ain't right. And I need to learn a little bit more. But I was seeing people going around and, like, oh, well, I found a sheikh. He says this is halal if. And it was all about satiating their desires and such. We'll have a good conversation on that.
One hadith, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, من أفتى بغير علم فقد كفر. This is very, brother and sister, very important. Whoever make fatwa without true knowledge, the knowledge here, by the way, Quran and Sunnah, not that sheikh and that person. لا خليني أكمل. Fatwa, Quran and Sunnah, not that person. من أفتى بغير علم, whoever make knowledge without true knowledge, become kafir. May Allah protect us. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. I enjoy this format a lot. It gives my voice a chance to rest. I had that pizza he was talking about earlier. I've been on a diet where I hadn't had any bread or carbs in like 3 weeks. So we were leaving off. We were talking about using the intellect, and these again being the attributes of a man prophetically, which is what we are as Muslims are to follow. We emulate this man. I talked about 2 weeks ago, his exceptional character. And we went and spent an hour going over all the virtues of loving our messenger. It was a very good talk. I was really proud of it when we completed, because when I want to know what a man is, that's where I'm going to go. I'm not going to go to Sneeko. I'm not going to go to Andrew Tate. I'm not going to go to the President of the United States, or the guy in the office who seems tough. I'm going right to who God sent me to tell me what a man is. And we are finding the same themes: intellect, honesty, compassion, overlooking the flaws. We talked about the man being the governor of the home last week and how we are judged on that, how we treat our wives, how we treat our children, and all these things. So let's take a look now in this next phase at some of the environment. We just went through the social media part. I was kind of got to do that here, and it got mixed in. When we look at the environment young boys are growing up in today, last week I talked a little bit about single mothers, and I threw some statistics out there of what happens in fatherless homes. And I was like ad-libbing the statistics, if you will, kind of generalizing it. But I actually went and found the statistics I was looking for and was going to fit them in today. We see now young boys who are growing up in this world without fathers. If you are from a single mother, 63% of teenage suicides are young boys who have no father in the home. 63%, well over half. It gets worse. 70% of kids in juvenile institutions, typically under 18. These are kids who have been arrested, who have been put into incarceration for very, very bad crimes. We find 70% of these came from homes without fathers. We see 71% of high school dropouts. I dropped out of high school. I'm proud of it. I went back and obtained my degrees later in life, and I'm still doing it. I'm not, hopefully there's a lot more opportunity for these brothers out there to do it, but 71% of our high school dropouts are coming from these broken homes. We see here 75% of drug abuse. 75% of people who abuse drugs in their teenage years are from fatherless homes.
The numbers won't higher.
It's just getting up. This is a telltale one because I like to use this one on liberals, and I wanted to find the exact number because a lot of times facts don't matter to leftists, to liberals. They just say stuff that they heard somewhere and it's automatically law. 80% of rapists come from homes without a father. Now, liberals have said over the years that men are so bad and they're cancer for the children. Teaching boys how to be a man is child abuse. And when they grow up in a home with only a woman, they're more compassionate. Well, we see right here, 80% of men who committed rape within one fiscal year were basically from these homes. So you're seeing that because they didn't have anyone in the home to teach them what a man does, how a man treats a lady. They didn't see how their father treated their mother in a favorable way. They are going again off those heroes that I talked about earlier, the rappers, the entertainers, the Hollywood stars, the character in the movie, and they're seeing how they are, with women. And this is what they are emulating. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment that even if there is that 50-50 chance that the father is in the home and that the parents are married, it's not guaranteed that the father is a righteous.
Well, we're getting to that.
Yeah.
That's no guarantees.
Let's keep the question, inshallah, and keep your question, inshallah. Good to inshallah. Yeah.
And you can see 85% of the youth in prison are from these homes. And then here is the highest of all percentage. And this one is just so damning, you can say, when it comes to the harm of not having a father. 90% of runaways and homeless.
How many percent?
90% are from broken homes with no father in. So the statistics don't lie. These young men now, and you see in this country, over 45% of total marriages are in divorce. Second marriages is 63%. 75% for third marriages into divorce. And the reason the divorce numbers are not higher is because a lot of these marriages are from people from the 1950s and the 1960s when there still was a culture of staying together. But you're seeing these new marriages are well over 50%. So the chances are one of these young men or young ladies, and I could go through stats of what it does to the young girls as well, being in these single homes, it's going to grow and grow and grow. You're going to see more and more damage to our young because of these broken families. And part of the broken families are women don't know how to be ladies anymore. Men don't know how to be men. It's both. It's a two-way street. We have broken individuals trying to raise families and trying to form a cohesive unit. It's just not happening. So what are some other problems that we see with modern day men when it comes to these things? Low testosterone levels. They've done studies, and the studies have been repeatedly showing the same thing, that the young people who live today are having, in some cases, almost half less testosterone than their fathers and grandfathers have. And a lot of people are asking, well, how? Why?
Yeah, why?
Why? Well, testosterone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is obviously the genius of creation. Yeah. He built a living, breathing computer. Our body is a computer system. It changes, it grows, it learns without us even having to think anything, subhanAllah. I mean, it's an amazing machinery. They did a study where they were showing that when you put men in leadership positions, their testosterone goes up. When you put men in problem-solving positions, their testosterone levels rise. When they are working out, they are physically fit and healthy, their testosterone levels rise. They become better, they become sharper, they become clearer. They become more of a man, you can say. So one of the obvious standouts between this generation and the previous is lack of physical activity. We have young people now glued to the phone, glued to the iPad, who are sitting all day long. And we as men, we have this natural instinct to be problem solvers, to fix things, whether it's around the house or to build things. You take that good quality and then you steer it to something negative, like video games and the iPads. And you get all these young men are spending all their brain power solving some puzzle online on their computer where they're not even, I know guys, I grew up with them. They would literally not even leave the chair They would eat microwave foods just so they could not have to leave the computer screen for too much period of time. You know, these were effeminate men. These were men that are seeing their testosterone levels slowly and slowly drop. You're seeing men now, you know, again, living with their parents until they're 20, 30 years old, delaying marriage. A lot of times they're not suitable even to be married in these ages. Again, not problem solving, not leading, not being a man, lower testosterone. And then the killer of all killers, the food. The food. And we will be talking about that in detail, inshallah, in a couple of weeks. Your wife
she's here.
Yeah. To be able to do a code thing on that. All this refined sugar, all this terrible, terrible diet of processed foods is affecting our hormones. You can see it in the West. It's making the women more masculine. It's making the men more feminine. You know, you have all kinds of testosterone inhibitors in some of these things, chemical compounds in the waters, fluoride being put into the water, a lot of things that's too big of an issue to get into today that's doing all this. So it's a combination of lifestyle, being spoiled like our modern day children are, and additives in the food, which are stripping our young men of their masculinity. And you've got these men who are 28, 29 years old, and they don't even know how to lead their home. They can't. They're not fit to be a father. The woman is not fit to be a mother. And then you get these statistics that I recited earlier. You find just brokenness and chaos. You know, we need to get our young men active. You know, I have my son and children now in sports. We play baseball, you know, together, teaching them what failure is, what failure feels like, what work ethic is, what practice is, and all of those things. And just get them active, get them out. Then we have another component in the war on men. It's known as feminism. And if you say that in public, in any forum, I mean, you'll get shouted down. You'll be called all sorts of names. Oh, you're a sexist. You hate women. That's my favorite. They tell you hate women. You know, do you hate women really? I mean, just because you're against some Marxist ideologies that the left is pushing, but they only know how to deal with that type of language. So I always, like we talked about last week, anything that has come to the West is going to come to the Muslims. It's just a progression. In the 1960s, when you had this feminist movement, men were sitting there, and us men sometimes were not guided by the best of things. We're not guided by the best of intention. And men were hearing, oh, women are saying now they're liberated. You don't need to marry them anymore. You know, they are willing to go with a man and do whatever without marriage, without commitment. And the men said, oh, that's great. You know, I don't have to commit. I can go spend some time with a lady. We don't have to get married. And you had really the beginning of what you see now in the modern day dating scene. But what those men didn't realize was basic, you know, human psychology. A woman can only have one child per year, while a man can theoretically father thousands. You know, women are made to be loyal and monogamous. A woman is made to choose the best of mates, you know, because she has a very limited time. Men, on the other hand, have been made to accept more, to have a wider net, you know, if you will, of a potential partner. So what happened was when you had feminism, you had women separating from the average man. Even when I grew up, you saw an average woman, average societal position, average looks, average guy, they were together. But what started happening when you add in social media and the psychology I've recently talked about, you found that all women were only wanting the top 2 to 10% of guys. I did a lot of studies before this presentation and also for the last 5 to 10 years on patterns on dating websites because I wanted to see what was going on in the culture. And we are finding that all the women, pretty much 90%, they were looking for a guy who made 6 figures, meaning $100,000 or more per year, who was 6 foot tall, you know, who fit a movie star type profile. And you're looking at less than 2% of men. You know, this is what has happened because of feminism. Instead of a man and a woman coming together to form a partnership and a bond for love of God, you know, and love of being human and what we're about, you started finding your property. I'm going to use you for fun. You're like a toy. And this is kind of what has happened in the modern day society. And you have so many men growing up in this, and they're miserable. They have no prospects. I was in Saudi Arabia, and I was talking to some brothers over there, and we were on our breaks when I was teaching some classes on safety. And one of the brothers was like 30 years old, and I asked him, you married with any kids? And he said, I can't. I said, what do you mean you can't? You got a good job? He said, I can't afford the dowry that this girl is wanting from me. And she was wanting so much money. And she was saying, I'm only going to marry a rich guy, one of the girls that he had tried to engage with in marriage. I was hearing from a lot of brothers when I was living over there as well, stories of their cousins and females in the family saying the same thing. They'd rather be single than not have a rich guy. Well, the average income, as an example, the state of South Carolina is about $50,000 a year. So if you're in the 100,000 six-figure range, you are an extreme minority. And you have women requiring that of a man for a suitable partner. There's going to be a lot of single women out there, and we are seeing this. Now, I remember a stat from Saudi Arabia. It was something that was disturbing. Of Saudi women that were 35, it was almost half or over half were not married. Because, again, they were holding out for that. They believe it because they watch a movie. They saw all those guys in the movie. They have money. All of them are over 6 foot. All of them are good looking. All of them are intelligent. Every human being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a gift. He takes another gift away. Some of us are good at speaking. I'm horrible at math. You don't want me doing calculus. You don't. It's not going to be pretty. I didn't go to engineering because I couldn't stand math. You're going to find some people are athletic, but you're always going to get something and give something back. You're never going to be good at everything. But when you've got someone, again, 6 foot tall, good looking, he's smart, he's a degree holder, he can drive fast cars, and he gets good money. I mean, just good luck, ladies, in finding someone like that. And that's, again, part of the brainwashing that's going on, the political climate that we see now. It's false expectations. When I was growing up, it was coming. I saw it. But I was also seeing a little bit of it from the men. They were having these same model images of what a woman should be. That every woman should be like, you see some of the anorexic, rail thin ladies. This was a big thing when I was growing up in the 90s. And the men were saying that every woman should look like that. And you're seeing how they're fashioning beauty and making us unhappy with everything about ourselves. Funny story on that. When I was like 20 years old, I was working in a Walmart supercenter back in my old town. And I was sweeping the floor and everything. And I was talking to a lady. She was African-American. And I said, hey, we knew each other, so we joked a lot. And I was like, hey, I want to show you something funny here. I was like, right here, this is the hate yourself if you have white skin aisle. And it was all the products for people like myself, Caucasian, European American, if you will. It was about how to curl your hair, tanning lotions and creams to make you look browner. So you would hate yourself if you were white and had straight hair. And I said, now we're going to look over to the left. And you are going to see the hate yourself if you're an African American aisle. And it was about how to straighten your hair, skin lightening cream, and hair colors to dye their hair blonde to look more Caucasian. So I said to her, she started laughing. I'm like, can you ever be happy as anything in this world? Because they thrive off us being miserable. The shaitan thrives off us being miserable. The corporations profit off us being miserable. The more miserable you are, they'll sell you a product that they're going to tell you will cure your misery. So you find these things going on, whether it's between men and women, black, white, the different races. Everybody is unhappy with themselves. Everybody doesn't like what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them. And it's just unfortunate. As we said, this is what's happening to our young boys. They are being bombarded. Young ladies, we talked about last week as well. Low testosterone, feminist impacts. Now a boy basically is scared to even propose to a lady. He'll be accused of harassment. In some circles. In Islam, we don't condone, obviously, the way they do in the West, but even in an Islamic way, some of these women would object. So we can go to questions. We're going to do a question section, and then we'll continue going on to one little final piece I want to do.
In the end, because 5 minutes left because of time.
So we'll do questions in 5 minutes?
After 5 minutes. So we'll finish.
Okay. Okay. Another quality of men, according to a prophet from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in Sahih Muslim.
Hold on. When he mentioned Muhammad, everybody says sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad. Good boys.
When I first became Muslim back in 2010, it was so hard for me to say that because in English, we don't have so many L's. So like sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just like a tongue twister. I used to practice, in the mirror because if I ever was talking and engaged in something, I wanted to say it correctly. I didn't want to butcher it, So it's one of those things like la ilaha illallah. That's a lot of L's, for the English language.
He many Palestinians, some Arab now.
You get yelled at in Arabic. It's the best way to learn. The hadith from Sahih Muslim, we would by Allah seek protection by the side of the Prophet when the battle was the most fierce. He was the most courageous among us who confronted the onslaught. Is it authentic from Sahih Muslim? Basically talking about people would run, if the battle got bad, they wanted to run to the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to get confidence. Because he was always so fearless. He trusted in Allah so much that he didn't let anything waver. And this is my final characteristic I want to talk about of uplifting men. Poise under fire. Men need to be basically sharp. We need to be brave. Bravery goes along with the wisdom. These are prophetic attributes. Being brave, not being afraid of someone calling you a name for talking favorably about our religion. Or talking disfavorably about some of the stuff that they are pushing. We have to have that bravery. I saw so many men during the COVID mess that was going on in this country a few years ago just put their head in the sand and they wouldn't speak out. You see it in the workplaces, all the time. There's obviously injustices being done and you don't see men. This hadith is about war. This is about confronting men who are trying to kill you. And the modern day man is afraid of being called a name. He's afraid of being disliked. We're referencing hadith again about combat, where the stakes are the most high. We have brothers out here now afraid of being called a name by someone from this society for being a Muslim, for defending the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for defending Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, defending our manhood. And I want to go in the further, as we finish this first series, the series is going to be about 2 months long, the traps of the modern world. This is still part of it. Getting more into Islamic manhood courses, here where we talk about a specific thing. If a lot of the brothers are interested in that, talking about nutrition, we'll have one for that already. We talked about working out, weights, qualities of man as a husband, going through some marriage stuff. All these things are open. We have 52 weeks a year, and I'm willing to be here every single one of them multiple times if needed to go over these topics because we do only have an hour. There's so much more I'd like to cover on this one.
I'm going to cover this hadith, by the way, hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam conquered Mecca, بعد فتح Mecca. Mecca, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam born, actually, he conquered Mecca. Still some other people, 30,000. They came to conquer Mecca to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Sahaba, the companion, they said, we are strong. They are strong. They depend in their power, not depend in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then they went for the war. And guess what? More than 99.9% of the army ran away. I'm talking 30,000. Who left in the battlefield? 100. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his family. And what? He said, أنا النبي لا كذب أنا ابن عبد المطلب. I am the prophet. I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. And Al-Abbas is uncle, his cousin actually, the son of the Abbas, said, call for them to come. I am in the battlefield and he said, Rasulullah is alive. Rasulullah is alive. He's high. And they came back and 30,000 conquered and they cut all the boundaries. But Rasulullah, only 100 facing what? More than 30,000. So Rasulullah is the model.
You're talking about the Battle of Hunain, yeah.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, you're talking about the Battle of Hunain. I love that story.
Yeah, Hunain is more. That's even after Mecca. I conquered Mecca and they conquered them.
They all ran.
And the only battle Rasulullah lost, that actually is not lost, is Uhud. But some people say Huzim, but it's not. Why? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he have in the beginning 1,000, and munafiqeen, hypocrites, 300 they were left, and who left with Rasulullah? 700. 700, and Rasulullah give me attention. He gave an order for them to stay in the mountain. 100 of them stay there, watch us. In the beginning, they conquered everything, and those companions, we won. But Rasulullah told, do not leave that position. Do not leave that position until I give you the order. But they disobey Rasulullah. So they came, they got killed, include even Hamza and Mus'ab ibn Umair, the greatest Sahaba, got killed with that. The key that we should follow all the time Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's an order, by the way. Allah said, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ. Obey Allah and obey Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is order. And what I mentioned for the Al Imran, Allah said, if you love Allah, أطيعوني. قل إن كنتم تحبون الله فاتبعوني يحبكم الله ويغفر لكم. The ayah, قل أطيعوا الله والرسول. If you love Allah, follow me, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ayah after that, in order, قل أطيعوا, obey Allah and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Believe it or not, to obey Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam become number one, a believer, not Muslim, a believer, mu'min. Number two, a strong and brave, and not only that, speak with courage. If you really obey Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sorry for that.
Oh, no worries. That was amazing. It kind of set me up for something I wanted to mention, because a lot of times I hear our opponents, they say, again, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, you're following a cult. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a cult leader. We talked about that. And again, the wisdom, as the brother here just mentioned, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending these flesh and blood messengers is for these statistics I talked about right here. It looks out for all of the humanity, because what if you're a child coming from a home with no positive role model? You always have the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No matter how bad your life is, you always have a standard for all times. You don't need to have physical representation in the home. It's a lot harder not to have that physical role model in the home, but we have a role model for all times. No matter how bad our life is, we always can go and say, okay, well, he dealt with worse and he overcame it. Yeah. You know, I'm talking about people calling you names. The messenger of Allah had men on a valley above him, coming to kill him, you know, throwing stones, rocks, arrows, and had that kind of poise under fire, that pressure, able to handle that.
Please, Surah Al-Imran, the third surah, is Al-Fatiha, Al-Baqarah, and Al-Imran, especially for the new Muslims, and even you guys, because Surah Al-Imran speaks about the battles of Rasulullah and how you become victory for Rasulullah. The surah after that, Surah Al-Nisa, from ayah number 85, فَلْيُقَاتِلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, you know, beautiful ayat after that, how Rasulullah prayed. So we're going to stop here, inshallah. Before this question here, Sunnahfollowers, if you have any questions, Sister Layla, good luck. What is your question? Inshallah, to Brother Yusuf will answer. And then after you guys. So, sorry, because we're supposed to share this the question with the Sunnahfollowers. So, Sister Layla. Sister Layla, you are there? Yes, oh, no.
She can't. I'm sorry, Sheikh Jamali. She can't really speak when she's, doing the stuff that she does. So she's here. So what would you
okay, here I am. Yeah, I had to undo the mic. It takes me a minute. Yes, one of the sisters here on link has a question. She said, Subhanallah, a very informative lecture. She said, so what recommendations do you have for us to instill the love of the religion back into our youth? And she is living in a Muslim country. She said, even here in the Emirates, the children Islam is like culture. They know nothing. There's no pride. What do you suggest we do to instill the love of the religion back in the youth?
And that's a very good question.
Brother, sister, you heard that the question?
Well, she was framing it from a sister in the Emirates. These are people, a lot of them, who grow up being born as Muslim, and they have no connection to the religion. They have no knowledge. And what can we do to start instilling this pride in the religion into these communities? And a very, very good question. I've been to Dubai. Was kind of like a second home to me for a period in my life. I used to do a lot of work there. My company had offices in both, and when I was there, I didn't even know I was in a Muslim country. I mean, I thought I was in Las Vegas in certain parts when I was driving. I mean, I could have been in Los Angeles. I mean, so I understand exactly where the sister is coming from. And I think we lost them. Are they still with us? It's switched to.
I don't know somebody calling. How to cancel that person?
Okay, we're back. We're back.
Okay, perfect. Did you hear me?
Yes, we heard you. You just froze, but we heard you.
Me and our brother here have been talking when we first met about this Islam is cool thing. And we want to get all the masjids around the world to really kind of take this approach that, as I said last week and in the weeks before, we are the cool kids. We are the ones who have everything to be proud of. And it starts, I think, from turning these masjids into community centers, getting people to participate, having get-togethers like we do. Like he said a very good thing, and I didn't even know him at the time. I liked him when I heard this. I think I may have always said hi and bye to him. It was in Ramadan. You had said basically, we have a whole month. The Christians have one day. And I was like, I like his thinking already. Because that's exactly what I want you to...
Taimur, somebody calling.
Oh, we're sorry. That's the natural interruptions.
I don't know who's calling. Hang up, please. I don't know how to hang up. I don't know.
It just has her face in the Zoom meeting that is the only active call.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Can you guys still hear us?
Can you hear me, sister?
Yes, you're perfect. Your technology is perfect. You're fine.
The point is when he said that, I was like, okay, we're on the same wavelength in the way that we think. And he recognized, I could tell from that statement that he recognized the problem, was that Muslims are looking at Ramadan as like some kind of chore. They don't enjoy it. We have a whole month of beauty. We have Tallawih prayers. We have fun with family. We should eat responsibly. We should clean ourselves out. We should read at least one part of the Quran every day. I mean, these are great things, in the month. Make it festive. Let's do stuff. Bring people together. Have activities. I like to see a lot more social media. This is something I'm definitely behind. And young people being able to call in, ask questions. We're trying to do a show, possibly that, so young people can talk to somebody about teen issues that they have, myself, one of my friends, whoever's going to be doing the show with me. Obviously, hopefully he would participate as well. And all these type of things that there's support there. There's always a helpful hand. There's always a smile. There's always someone who's going to talk to you and respect you and listen to you and is going to have your best interest at heart, because we've got to do it. It can't be done by one man, two men, one town. It's got to be a global thing. And we live in an amazing time now where we have this technology where you guys are all over the world. And you can see me and the brother here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina in real time. So, I mean, this is a powerful tool that we can really use this for the greater good.
What's ignorant? The problem is ignorant.
Yeah.
Well, how to fix the problem?
Well, it's the same problem in every country. Community involvement, getting people involved, social media, being around like-minded people, surrounding yourself by like-minded people.
Yeah, in my opinion, actually, I believe every house now, they have internet, you have TV. Make the kids actually, very important for any parents, they not only in Emirates, in America also. We have to watch our kids in the TV, in the phone, especially the cell phone, the iPad. The iPad and that brother in the beginning become like the phone become like a glue. iPad is glue. And I know I mentioned the Khutbah Jum'ah. One of the kids almost killed his mom. Because the cell phone is 11 years old. But the problem, by the way, I don't blame the kids. I blame the parents.
Yeah, they facilitated it.
I blame the parents. The parents, if you're not controlling, you give little phone your kids, iPad and computer for your kids, and you're not controlling that cell phone, you are lost already. Already in default, you are lost. The moment you give if you're not watching what's going on with your son, a lot of kids, by the way, wallahi, brother, a person, he go listen. Actually, what? He consider himself as a big sheikh, scholar, but he going with some certain sides, and all the shuyukh he mentioned kuffar. Like all the shuyukh, kuffar, and he's the only one Muslim. So we have to be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful, inshallah.
And yeah, I want to add to the point we were discussing here and to the scripture in Emirates is I read a hadith. You guys were not with us for the first lecture. The hadith I closed with it, and it was about a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam about in the end time there would be people among his ummah who would be raised up and protected, and it kind of implied where we're at right now in the real world that there's going to be a minority, if you will, because this system that we're up against, it appeals to the desires. It appeals to the lowest of the human. A lot of people are going to succumb to it, and a lot of people are not going to be able to be saved. We want to try, with everyone, obviously, but a lot of people are not going to be able to resist. Some people are going to take longer than others, and we can't get frustrated if you try to talk to a person here or there and they blow you off. I get blown off all the time. My best friend I grew up with, he shot himself. He's gone. He died 2 years ago. I tried talking to him for 5 years, and I never could get through. It just didn't.
Any more questions, Sister Layla?
That's all. She said thank you so much. That's all I got from here.
Here. Any question here? Sister Tara, sister. All right, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, next week, with ta'ala, Brother Abdul Ghani is not here. Abdul Ghani, inshallah, going to speak about the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For that, Brother Yusuf will continue in the letter, inshallah. Don't forget, beginning of the Hijjah start Monday, inshallah. Try to fast. If you cannot fast on Monday, fast at the day of Arafat, inshallah. But also, we're going to speak about, inshallah, the Hijjah more and more and more from the eve of the Jum'ah. I spoke to the Jum'ah yesterday, but we're going to continue with that, inshallah. Okay, you have a question. You have a question. You have a question. You said before. Yes.
No, not necessarily. It was a very informing lecture. Thank you.
If you had anything you'd like to add, because I love seeing the turnout we had today. We had a bigger turnout than before. More young people. In fact, mostly all young people coming, which is an amazing sign. I'm so happy when I see this gentleman brother here is 19 years old.
Yeah, mashallah.
And mashallah.
But Frank, since he become a friend, mashallah, brother, he come from Russia, come from Fajr. I'm very proud of him, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Also, brother and sister, my wife, Dr. Lynn, she's here, and one of the lecture about nutrition and the food and this, Brother Yusuf, and she listened to the lecture with him last time, and I said definitely gonna be together. So gonna be include my wife, Dr. Lynn, and myself, and Brother Yusuf gonna be speaking about one of the maybe the following week.
Whenever she's available, I can do it.
When you think, Dr. Lynn? Huh? You know the schedule more than even more. You know my schedule more than myself. Let us know. Okay, Charlie.
We want to build here, and I say I want to call it Islamic supermen and women. We want to build perfect, total human beings in body, mind, and spirit. And some of our lectures we're going to talk is this series gets all the modern world. I want to work with this brother here with his Quranic knowledge, and I want to do an ayah a day type lecture series where we really get into the Quran. That to come on later, of course. We'll get to the spiritual side of things, and then the physical. Of course.
Oh, hold on. I have another. Taimur and Frank, speak up loud because Sunnahfollowers all over the world. Speak up what it. We're gonna have a debate. Okay, go ahead.
Hopefully in the coming weeks, maybe me and Frank will have a topic maybe we can discuss with everybody. It'll be more of like questions we'll ask, and we're going to look for a lot of replies. So maybe it's something that the Sunnahfollowers can really get into. you want to talk about the topic now, or maybe we'll just wait?
Come here. Come boy. Yeah. Okay. Both of you. Inshallah.
Yeah, what's going on?
Frank, included. Sunnahfollowers acting all over the world.
Just so to talk about the topic really quick, we're hoping maybe in the next coming weeks or something like that, we can like introduce a question that maybe a lot of the youth can ask themselves and then they can give us a reply. We were thinking the question, we'll just go ahead and introduce it today, is what do you think is the creation of the universe? Do you believe in the Big Bang, or do you have another theory you can give to us, and what's your proof for that? And we're just willing to hear anything. So we're going to be asking that question to you guys in maybe a week or two. We're not really sure when the details are. And then we're hoping we're going to have a lot of youth to sit down and discuss that with. So how does that sound to you guys?
About this topic, by the way, I have a PhD, by the way, in geology, structural geology. So I was enjoying that, inshallah. Okay, inshallah. Sister Layla, any question for Brother Taimur and Frank? Sister Layla.
I think we have bad connection. They're flashing in and out.
Sister Layla. Okay.
We'll wrap it up. We'll post it on Facebook.
All right, inshallah. Yeah, yes.
For you guys.
Yes, inshallah. All right, jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, inshallah.
We're playing musical chairs.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know Sunnahfollowers. Yes, brother.
I don't know if you answered already, but nowadays for the youth, like for the young men, it's really hard, especially with all the, like you said, the women and the desires, right? What's the best way to, let's say, control my desires, or the best way to stay away from it?
Well, there was a very famous hadith. A man was traveling with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was looking to a woman, and the woman was looking to him. And Rasulullah took his head, and turned the head. You know, and it's easier said than done. I was asked this question by some youth last year about how to avoid these things, and being human, being man, obviously, it's not easy, you know, but we have to follow, again, the prophetic tradition. What did the messengers say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to do in this situation? I mean, turn your head. And being involved, again, with people who believe like you, who have the same deen as you, same taqwa as you, helps out a lot in staying away from those type of things. If you're around friends who all they want to do is chase women, obviously you're going to fall into temptation. You know, if you're around friends who want to chase goals and want to build a successful family and perfect their spirit, you know, in this dunya, those are the type of people to be around, you know. But just don't put yourself in those positions. Try to always do what you can to avoid.
Actually, what is one hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam on a story. Hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in even Hajj with Ali ibn Talib radhiyallahu anhu. Ali was looking at the woman, and then he looked again, and Rasulullah turned his face. الأولى لك والثانية علي. The first one is for you. The second one, Allah will judge you because of that. One of the shuyukh actually in Egypt, and I heard this when I was in Egypt, the shuyukh